fascinating story. This one is a Wayne Sperner paper. And then he claims, when I was new to the internet back in the late 90s and started researching different alien races, Robert Morningsky was a researcher I quickly took to heart after I had read his terror papers. There he talks about the reptilian Orion queens, who are supposedly one, if not the oldest star race in the section of the universe. Well, I guess that each one brings the feast to their side, just for each their own in what they believe. So I cannot claim that she's the false or the only one. Of course she's not the only one, but she's the false. Of course they would say that, but I don't think so, because the atoms created all at once, because it was an explosion. And this explosion of atoms and molecules created everything there is at the same time. So you cannot say this was the first, that was the first. We are not sure of it. David Icke had dedicated much of his research to expose the reptilian races as well, as you have many others. Well, yeah, he did expose, but not in a good light, rather the opposite. Robert Morningsky is a full-blooded native Indian, not native, but shamanic people, half Hopi and half Apache. He got his basic information from his Hopi grandfather, who deal with these aliens, okay, reptilians as well, who told him about a star being a star elder star as he called him, whom they had rescued from a UFO crash sometime in the late 1940s. So you see, shamanic tribal people rescued this being from a crash. Let's say reptilian, this being, alien, and then they told him a story. Well, it could be true, it could not be true, it could be half true, half truth. In return from having been saved and cared for, this shorty, skinny being told them his story of the stars as he pertains to Earth, and the Ashanti story of planet Earth, which star beings normally call either Iridu or Iridanas. I don't believe Iridanas was Earth. Rather, it was Maris. Orion. However, because they want to control things and take over things that they don't own, they will tell a lie. That's how I feel. Terra or Uras, I don't believe. Really, I don't believe. It was a fascinating story about the queen of the star from Orion, who got in conflict by younger star race from Sirius, which they call wolf people, but it has nothing to do with the wolves we have here. This confrontation, after a lot of twists and turns, came to evolve planet Earth, and a very, of course, evolved planet Earth. After all, they invaded, they didn't have they. That's why Earth got involved in all this. However, once they came in here, there were already sentient beings, animals, humans, and plants, fauna and flora. They did not create. What they did was to contribute with their seeds here in a very profound way, and to such an extent that it directly has to do with the creation. No. The creation of mankind. And in fact, this so-called Robert Morningsky He calls the Orion Queen as a page, and he calls her names, and he is against her. He said that all she wanted was her paycheck. She was a big business trader, and there's galaxies, and all she wanted was her paycheck. So fascinated by the story that when he got older and started integrating himself with the civilized world, he spent much of his time researching what his grandfather had told him. He was stunned when he found out that what he'd been told as a child most likely was true. This inspired him so much that he wrote a research paper to give to his teachers. This, to his big surprise at the time, was met with rejection, low grades, and he almost faced expulsion, or they call it, they sack him out of the school. Discouraged, he went back to his tribe and asked them if his grandfather had lied to him. But they explained that in the civilized world they don't believe in such thing as has been told in the tribe. Yeah, that's correct. Because the people are too engrossed in the matrix that they cannot think beyond the box. Nonetheless, the event with the Star Elder took place. They reassured him. The event with the Star Elder took place. So the young Robert continued his research, and in the 90s he released the Terra Papers, or Earth Papers, to become a success. He then started traveling around the world, holding lectures and teaching people in smaller groups as well as individually. Also, Terra could be a name for Orion long time ago, so they bring it to this planet here. Since they are colonizers, they would do that, so they would change the name. However, Robert was heavily attacked. His office was broken into, research materials was stolen, and his life threatened. He withdrew in 2002 from public appearances, not only due to the attacks, but also because further research had led him to believe that the Terra Papers were wrong. Not in essence, he said, but he got the locations and characters wrong. Exactly, because Eridas was not Terra, was not Earth, it was Orion. It's another galaxy, unless they were the same planet long time ago before they separate, but it was alike. Really, it was alike. And he didn't go back far enough in time. However, with that statement, many people probably wrote him off at the time. And although his research was always on the back of my head, I went on looking into the things. Here is Robert Mollusca. So why I start out the second level of learning with the story? Well, it's because in his early material, Robert Mollusca claimed that the Queen of the Stars in the Orion Empire believed in the divine feminine. In other words, they were and still are absolutely certain that the universe is feminine in nature. Yeah, but he was not pro this queen. He is against, because they are more like they are pro Sirius. These people, shamanic people, are pro Sirius. They call themselves the Wolves people. So up until recently, I thought this was hogwash. How can the universe be feminine? Everybody knows that it is masculine, or more likely neuter. Neuter, I would say it's neuter. No feminine, no masculine. Neuter, but it is supposed to be feminine. Okay, a higher percentage more feminine. Why? Because we need to balance karma in a way that it is already, if it is too run by the energy of testosterone or male, it will gonna be out of balance because there will be too much violence, and we don't need that here. No, we don't need. Really, we don't need. The polarity has reached a point where it's too much to one side. Okay, it's more to the negative side, and we don't need that. Not to say that all the masculine is negative. No, there are many women out there who are totally negative. It hasn't much to do with gender, although the male are more prone to be negative than the female. So I'm talking about the norms here, general rule, and if we have a feminine approach, it will be more what motherly, grandmotherly, older sister, etc. It will be more like comforting, more giving, more nurturing, and that's what the universe needs: more nurture, more empathy. Because the way we are, people against people, too much violence, too much hostility, too much arrogance, too much ignorance, we cannot go on like this. Because people are too busy with businesses that they, when I talk about businesses in general, they are only evolved and preoccupied with things of the material aspect. They are not focused too much on a spiritual side, and that's what we need. We need a balance, and not say a balance is more to the side of the spiritual. I would say 65% to 70% spiritual. The rest 35% would be material, so as to have more balance here in this world, because it's totally out of balance. Okay, totally out of balance. And now that it has, you see, things have changed in a way that even the monarchy here is now passed to the males. Okay, and is now a king monarchy. Before was a queen. Queen is gone. Instead of give it to a queen, they give it to a male. And then they say, oh, this one is the queen of Orion who wants it this way because now she is governing the earth. So at least so this year. But no, I don't believe so. There's something else behind all this. Okay, and I believe that's the return of Lucifer, and he's a like androgyne, a part male and part female. He also can be a goddess. What he can be. Jews apparently now this age they want do away with the matriarchal monarchy and bring in the male monarchy. Now it's about the patriarchy era age. And I don't know how it goes from there on. Just it would be of great value and beneficial for the world that it would be feminine, but unfortunately I don't see it come so as to balance karma and balance the level of violence that we have here in this planet. To see, up until recently I thought this was hogwash. How can the universe be feminine? Everybody knows that it's masculine. It's not masculine either. It was invaded. It became masculine by force, or more likely neutral. It's neutral. I knew certain sources claim it independently from morning sky that God is feminine. God's not feminine, it is masculine, it's neutral. But I hadn't looked far into this matter myself. No, God's not feminine or masculine. Here is your God's atom, proton, electron, quarks. Okay? Equal quarks. Quark. We are atoms. We are pure atoms. No such thing as a God. God, this God that you all follow, are creatures, not creator. Those are creatures. Creatures. Creatures cannot be the creator because they're creatures. But a creator means that because they can produce things, they can learn as they go. So they become a creator, as much as we as human too can become a creator. Not just them. Only the difference is because they know more about this stuff here of existence in creation, which is the atoms, which is all there is. Okay? So here lies the difference between we and them. But it doesn't mean that they are the gods. I knew certain sources claim independently from one sky that God. No, but I hadn't looked any further into this matter myself. I couldn't even picture this because I didn't believe in God being a deity. And it's not. And it's not. It's a cox. No such thing as deity. Example person. Little did I understand at the time that this is not what it's about. It was not until I started listening to certain interviews on YouTube with Robert, where he talks about, and it doesn't mean that the Robert know everything. This dude here doesn't knows everything, where he talks about the divine feminine, that my interest began to grow and I decided to research this in more detail. They know so much that they claim that the end of the world will be December 21, 2012, and they are still here to tell a story about that. It never happens. 10 years later. I recently also reviewed the Terra papers again, and I still find them being perhaps one of the most accurate, compressed research I've encountered to this day about certain parts of the ET issue. I believe I can see what he means when he says he got certain parts wrong. Of course we are wrong. Most of the time we are wrong about what we say. But in spite of that, he's still quite accurate from my perspective. This will probably become clearer as we move on through the second level of learning. Is the universe feminine created? No, it's not. Let's start by looking at the few different sources to see what they have to say about the divine feminine. The first level of learning from here on, called level, started with the Anunnaki, who came down to earth and started the patriarchal regime, which culminates with the biblical patriarch. Biblical patriarchies. The Anunnaki is the Sirius dog star. But no, I don't think so. That's serious for you. And the Anunnakis, they are not, as they say, they are not a dog or whatever. They are, to me, they are this one. The Mesopotamian that name Pa, I don't know, something like that, Mesopotamian. So, the Anunnaki, who is also a reptilian, came down to earth and started the patriarchal regime, which culminated with the biblical patriarch. And I don't believe that Anunnakis are from Sirius in that they are dogs, they are wolves, all this bull crap, that they are lion people. Nonsense. Can they have this avatar? They can even come as a worm, but they in the their true self, the true aspect, their natural aspect, they could be a worm. Okay, a worm that burrow under the earth, and they can become anything from a lizard man to wolves to chimera, something like that. They can become a wolf man, lion man, whatever, but they were first worms. But has Paul dies up to the present time, Although we see more human power today than we did a couple of hundred years ago and more, man are still the ones who rule this world, and the human in higher position are just walking out of men's principle. They are always, many of these humans are just muppet of human, even the workplace, unless they have their own business. Even there are certain males who want to sabotage the human's work out of jealousy, because if you want to see a bitchy person, a bitchy and jealous, envious person is a male. The females who are like this, they have the male's character. Trust me, I know, I have been studying all of you here. So honest men have filled the highest echelons of power for thousands of years. Human who reach top position are still subjected. See, she's behind, be it in politics, in power, whatever, in business, in a high corporation. If the business is not hers, she's a muppet of the men who are behind her, and they are calling all those shots. That humans are mere muppet. They put her as a president, she a mere muppet. They place her as a member of parliament. She's nothing but a muppet. She lives for puppetry. You understand? She doesn't call those shots. You call those shots when you say to yourself, is this a way? Independency or death? I rather die than I be subject to this and that. That's when you have your power. Your power is not because you are in the higher top of corporation ladder, or you are monarch, you know, you are queen. What for you be a queen when behind you the men call the shot? For what? I don't need it. I wouldn't want that. That's nonsense. Women go for military for what? To compete females? Have you no intelligence or what, females? So to a men-dominated world view and the simply females executing male policies, exactly that dude he is right. He's a Swedish guy, and he's right. All the same time, many people have wondered why this is. Because it's a male world. I mean, a male-made world. Male-made world. Me and my friends used to discuss this when I was a teenager. Of course, we had no clue at the time. We saw the feminist movement form and rise, but it was a Rockefeller-sponsored movement. Instigation for many reasons, except for the right one. Humans started reclaim their right in the late 1960s, early 1970s, just like the black people did with Malcolm X and Martin Luther King. This is it, the feminist movement, sponsored and governed by a male. Behind all this has a male, but the human is just the muppet. They get all the blame for males' inventions and males' decisions making and policies. There's a kind of worms, and they say here, the Anunnakis, they are worms, literally speaking. They are the 15 multi-dimensional beings, and they use these people, those who they see on the low and the ladder of society, to fight for their rights, understand, so as to see destabilization in society and one against another. And then there come human movements, there come racial movements, all that when it can be solved in other way, you know. And sometimes it is good, you know, there's a reason for that. It's good because people need to fight for their rights, that's okay. But when it is goes out of balance and people start to having this sense of victimism. It does more harm than good for society at large. As the main spoken man and the powers that be, PTB, felt that they had to do something about this upheaval, anticipating that this movement could possibly expand. So the Rockefellers and their fellow elite fellows wanted to formally make a statement that nothing would be better if women were in charge. But more importantly, they steered the movement in a direction so that human became man. But maybe they didn't have this in mind. That was not the intention. What they wanted was maybe equality in society. If you see through another positive side of the coin, maybe the intention was good, but sometimes when, well, people lose their identity, then if they want to meld inside a certain group, they want to make part of it, so they become that thing. Because they meld, they lose their identity, and then they to best fit and not to become an outcast, they lose their identity, then they meld into that thing, that aspect of being. You know what I mean? So many women in the movement even cut their hair to look like man. Hey, I cut my hair, but not because I want to be like a man. I know my spirit, who I am. I know who I am, because also I was having too much how to say, many information comes and stuck on the hair, because the hair is some kind of antenna to gather information, the two sources to the teeth. So what I did was cut my hair. I cut my hair short myself, and then now I'm better. I can sleep well. I no more have insomnia with the hair short. I don't have entities who come and disturb me at night. Okay? And yeah, I'm better. I don't feel very hot. So I feel that cutting hair is freedom. It's nice to have long hair, nice. Maybe I'll keep it long, maybe now by 5 years by now, from now on. But I think that is cooler to have short hair. Feel fresh. So of indirect, so that human become man. Many human in the movement because their hair look like men. So what? Put on men's clothes. So what? Hid their femininity. Some of them started to despise and even hate men. Hey, but now I ask one thing. How's that? Okay, I want to become a man. Okay, I view a man. I want their muscle. I want their hair. I want their looks, and then I start to hate them for what? What a nonsense! Doesn't make any sense to me. No, those are not the human who hates men. I'm gonna explain why. When you have been abused by males, either in a relationship, a marriage, within or outside marriage, you raped, abused, you start to have traumas, and if it traumas, you cannot blame anybody if they hate somebody. Okay, they come to hate. So that's how it happens. Men sometimes, and this goes for men, if they have a unreasonable abusive mother or grandmother who have abused them, and if they have been abused by a woman, which is very rare. It does happen. It doesn't exist, such things, by those women who are male oriented. Okay, they are male oriented, and they kind of they run everything for iron fist. Their energy is very, very masculine, and they want to boss around the house. They want to control everybody. Okay, And I'm gonna tell you straight, money runs the shot, runs the the move. Okay, and the money makes people wanting to have um, control over the people because they use the power energy of money. And the same thing as it does men. Men uses money to control your woman, control his family, and control their children, and to abuse. Man do that. So there's certainly human, not all, but certainly women who do this the same. They use the power of the money to control their family and everybody else. Okay, so now not all of them, but quite I would say 5 to 3% of the human does that, or at least 3 in 15, 5 in 15 women, etc. Just this woman and corporation of the woman who wear tie, shorty hair, and they are very high in the corporate ladder. They are not hating men. They are one with the men. They become one of the guys, and they harass even other human. Okay, their masculine instinct so great that they start to harass other humans as well. I know this to be true firsthand because I grew up with it. Ooh, some young, you see this guy here, he grew up a human like that who want to boss around and control just about everybody. And that's not good. That's why my motto is live and let live, even your children. Your children doesn't belong to you. You are there to guide them, to offer help, or not be their servant. I gonna draw a line. Don't you see when they are trying to take chance of you? Other than that, be kind to your children, to your grandchildren, etc. But you don't have to be a servant with them. But let's say a comfort giver, I would say. A helping hand, but not a servant. Some young men even became afraid of this woman and lost their own masculinity, only too willing to please. There were those who were afraid that no human would like them if they didn't bow down to them. Really? Wow, really? These guys were brought up with moms alone at home. So they, mom, grandmother, aunties, so they have own matriarchy, so they don't want to hurt other human. They are usually like that. Because they have brought up human, but if they brought up in a household of females that are abusive, this man will grow on to become an abusive man once they have a companion, female companion, spouse and children. They become highly abusive, and it will double up. It will become worse if they were brought up with a man inside the house who are abusive. This man will kill their spouse and beat up their children like hell. If their father were a drunkard, a violent and repulsive man, and they have this kind of male model at home. On the other hand, if they have a father who is understanding, friendly, nice, kind, and very responsible, this man will grow up to become the best husband and father. Okay, my son is good. My older son, he's good son. Now he's not very good son, but I support him. I don't keep this on my heart, in my heart. But he's a good husband and a father. Very dutiful, very friendly. He don't boss so much with them. So that's good. And his father was a dick. His father was no good, but I was there to guide them. I was there to teach them that a human is not a servant and shouldn't be a servant of man. So some young men even become afraid of this woman and lost their own masculinity and too willing to please. There were those who were afraid that no human would like them if they didn't bow to them. I don't think so. It's very rare. And what this human were you know why this guy here is the gigolo? Gigolo. Male gigolo who goes after all the humans so as to live off them because they are too lazy bum to lazy ass. They don't want to work, nothing, don't want to have responsibility. Sometimes they did have two protective mom at the home who provide everything for them, or their father. The father give them this bad influence, or they just happen to be like this. Yeah, this is the male gigolo. Now, people say, but why woman can be like this? Yeah, human are like this to have the sugar daddy. Yeah, because they also irresponsible people. They find the easy way out, or by circumstances, not judge. At the same time, is young guys, maybe teens or 20s, 25, 28. But once that guy reaches a certain age and they are gigolo, then it's a shame. Like this age here, you want to be a gigolo? Oh, please. Please. But if you want to be a male prostitute, then okay. If you don't, we shouldn't judge. Male gigolo, up to them. But the man who stays home, doesn't clean, doesn't look after the kids, and I live in internet game, oh come on, and the human go out to find man to bring the bread and the food to put on the table, and he's good for nothing. This human also need a dressing down, because this human doesn't know how to behave properly. This human also is not a human, you understand? And this man is supposed to be put out of the house, because when it's a female, she's made to clean. She's a cooker, she's the cleaner, she's the babysitter, she's the baby machine, etc. She have to do all this multitask: send children to school, bring children from school, be the teacher, the tutor. She's all in one, while the male cannot do anything. Once they are gigolo, they stay home. Why they are gigolo? They are not a house husband. House husband has a job. He cooks, he cleans, he go for marketing, he go for groceries, he take look after the children, take the children to and from school. That's different. It's just a male, a man, who, with the accord of the wife, if together they decide that the human should go out to earn money and he stay home. That's okay, that's fine. But a male who stays home, doesn't do anything, he's a gigolo. Gigolo. And a human, she's a good for nothing, useless female who does that. Understand? This is the men who want to praise the woman. They praise this for money. They don't do this because they are so nice guy. They are not a poor thing, they're not a victim. They do this for money. As much as a female pleases a male also for money. Okay? This fair and square. Let's clarify this. There's no such thing as a nice guy out there. So there were those who there's no sense. This is gigolo. And what this human were misled to is for one's power. Just like man had been misled to wish for power over many millennia. It was just the other end of an extreme. At the same time, human who still felt they wanted to remain feminine and keep female values work out between and started feeling uncomfortable with being who they were, pressured by the human's liberation to change. I don't think the woman will pressure. That's not true. Even attacked for being just human. No such thing. Nobody would attack me just because I want to be a woman. That's not true. This movement did not much more to enrich the patriarchal movement than to promote the divine feminine. What this movement did much more to enrich the patriarchal movement than to promote the divine feminine. The visible leader of the feminist movement or the FEM were all agent provocateurs. Those are not feminists, dude. Those are slatterish, something like this. They are not feminists at all. Those are women who works for male. This is a male movement. A feminist is the one who raise their children alone, who look after their mom, who are workers in and outside the house. A woman who doesn't play fool with male. A woman of dignity. She is very respectful, and she's a very modest kind of person. This is the real feminist. Real feminist. The others are just a muppet. They are muppet. Okay, there is just a facade to hide something sinister behind all that movement. And more importantly, it was run by men. I'm not surprised. The movement, predictably enough, soon died out, and the men in power could relax again. The Rockefellers and the patriarchal regime had proved that the world would not be a better place if a woman were in charge. Wait a minute. But because they are in charge under a man's shadow, they are not being a woman, they are being a man. A man under the man's shoes follow a man's shadow. They are not being themselves, but if they were themselves, they will be better for the world. Why not? It wasn't like this before, and why it wouldn't be now? So this guy here is very cocky as well, huh? Very cocky. He's trying to be ironic and prove that human cannot run the world. I'm not saying that human gonna run the scientific and the political arena. It fly colors, high score. No, but there's another way to run this world. There's another way to run a tribe, a family, whatever, a nation without power over others. Understand? There is a way. You don't have to follow a male's example or a male template on how the world should be. We still need to ask ourselves, why is the power elite so afraid of human coming to real power? Because they know that before this universe was feminine run by females. Why have human been so suppressed and abused over the millennium? Because they were afraid that they take power again. More or less, through the whole history of mankind, there must be something human have that man don't have. Power. Or have less of. But what is it? They were afraid. Knowledge and some other nefarious skills. The secret to the struggle between the female and the male is an ancient conflict that goes back way before mankind was born. It has to do with the female sexual and spiritual powers of the god. Oh, don't tell me. So for you, at least for you and most other cocky males out there, the human only good for sex. Oh, get lost, man. Nobody needs that. That's for stupid people, stupid society, etc. This power, I don't want people to convince me that I'm powerful as a woman because I'm sexual. Oh, sexual, just like worse than a slut. Because, yeah, I slut. Because a prostitute, she do it for money at least. The others not for free. Just for being a slut and get slapped on the face at the end. This power as well shall seen in later papers was transferred down here to earth when a Homo sapiens were created. Your Homo sapiens created hundreds of thousands of years ago. This is why the patriarchal regime has such a strong hold on earth and has had no such a long time, and has had for such a long time. The divine feminine was suppressed by the gods. And from this, oh my God, the divine feminine is open up legs. It's not going there and strive to support their family economically wise. No, it's to open up legs, spread. So this is what this idiot try to say here, that a woman is good for that. He's been as a cock misogynistic than those Rockefellers he was talking about. It was for a good reason. Before you were visited from a star race from Sirius some 500,000 years ago, other star races had already been here and were still here, teaching the beings living here then about the divine feminine. I don't want to know about this nonsense divine feminine, man. To be slut, nobody need you. Just suck this in your cock. I will show beyond the reasonable doubt now how the patriarchal regime changed the world religions from one where mankind was in touch with female divinity, mostly without worship, evolved to several different religions where mankind was worshipped masculine gods. Robert Morning Sky is calling what the human have an abundance of fire. This fire is directly connected to the rest universe, the feminine cosmos. The feminine cosmos, not one reptilian queen. Feminine cosmos, the void, feminine cosmos, atoms, protons, and not any creatures. It's not that males are not connected to the divine. We all are. But the females are directly connected with the prime energy of the universe and therefore came first and by default. Of course, after all, the ovum was the first primordial stuff to be created, the ovum. The male zygotes already come from an ovum. Female ovum, because this female ovum was some kind of androgynous. This masculine gods nonsense started when they succeed and defeat not say defeat, but they kind of fool the females that they needed a ferocious testosterone filled males to protect them, a ferocious, aggressive male, because there's once a Satan around, a devil, that it was, this devil was a very big threat to the kingdom, the female's kingdom, and that they needed a male figure to protect them, a male god, a ferocious one. And that's how the patriarchal cocky religions were created. Robert Monsky is calling out the human have an abundance of fire. Yeah, I have seen this fire inside my breast, and it's very powerful, very powerful. We all are, but the females are direct connected with the prime energy of the universe and therefore came first and by default have more ascension than males do. So already here we see that the Genesis story in the Bible is reversed. Everything is reversed, thwarted. In the Bible it is said that male became before males, true, and that the human come from a male's rib. A piece of the male make a female. What other rubbish, a piece of garbage, I never fell for it. Female come from the male. Oh my God. But now reality sees the truth. The male come from the female inside her womb. Even at the primordial time, with or without male, she could give birth to females as well. The chicken can give eggs. She can lay eggs with or without the male. But in order to have chicks, she needs a male to fertilize her egg, which I claim is wrong and has been changed by the Syrian patriarchal regime to support worship of a male god. Exactly. The fire is another word for soul, our very senshi, what LPJC calls permission cloud, which is the divine energy surrounding the bad noise inside the solar plexus, and which contains our personality. Of course, both man and a woman have a soul. A soul is outside, but this fire is inside the solar plexus. But the soul pervades all over the body, and we both have the fire, which is the powerful energy of the soul. However, according to my research, which confirmed when looking into most ancient civilizations and tribes on earth, the feminine aspect of the soul has more goddess power than the masculine because it came first. I don't know about that, but what I would say is that they are more sublime, they are more or less like to make problem and fights, so that's good. What the global elite and their ET masters are most afraid of is that people in general and human in particular are going to develop more of their feminine energies and become more powerful. Mentally powerful, huh? Not physically wise, but mentally. The feminist movement in the 60s, 70s were where the feminist aspect of human were diminished was instigated by the man of power, the elite, and both man and a human lost their identities. And it was also a blow to the family unit, which they know is a strong bond between people. The power they are so afraid that they will develop also has a much deeper meaning, which will be discussed later. It's so secret that the PTB and the ETs who manipulate them would lose their control over us if we really knew and started using our powers.